Excelsior! What's up, everybody? I'm Sly the Movie Guy, and here's where I rank all 20 MCU movies with the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp. And by the end of this video, let me know in the comment section down below, where do you rank all the MCU movies from your worst to best or your best to worst? Anyways, guys, let's just get started. Iron Man 2 is one of the weakest MCU films. Basically like a villain that has revenge on Tony Stark's family, whatever, have a revenge against him, something like that. Then the villain, Justin Hammer's controlling all his weapons and everything. It was just kind of one of the films that just had too much going on. Basically like the setup to other superhero movies in the MCU. It just kind of feels like everything was like a convoluted mess. And it just didn't feel fresh as the first one. And I felt very disappointed in that. But I'll say Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and Iron Man is great. He was born to play that role. And that's the things that's really good. And some of the action pieces are great in this film. But that doesn't say much because this film is just very weak. And it's not one of the top MCU films. Thor: The Dark World. This is one of the weakest MCU films with Iron Man 2. One of the things that really hurt this film for me is the villain Malekith. He was kind of one of the weakest MCU villains. I really didn't care for what he was doing. His motivation just was not great. I didn't really care for the romance with Thor and Jane Foster. Chris Hemsworth is great as Thor. I really thought he made the film watchable. Him and Tom Hiddleston give great performances. I like their interaction with each other. So those were the great things about Thor: The Dark World. And the action sequences are great too. I think some of the actions are great in this film. But if you haven't seen Thor: The Dark World, I don't know if you want to watch it or not. There's some good things to enjoy, but overall, still one of the not the brightest MCU films. The Incredible Hulk. Oh, I like this film, even though it's ranked to where it's at. I think it's an underrated film. It's better than the 2003 Hulk movie. This one had great casting. Edward Norton, William Hurt, Tim Roth, and Liv Tyler. Excuse me if I did say her name wrong. The action in this movie is fun. I can say that about this Hulk film. The storyline is very interesting. I was invested. I love where he was trying to discover how he's supposed to calm down and not get so angry. I thought all those aspects worked about the Incredible Hulk, and I had a blast with him fighting Abomination. That was a battle that I've been looking for. I've been wanting to see Abomination on big screen. When I saw the trailers, I was like, wow, they finally did it. So The Incredible Hulk is an underrated movie, but there's other MCU films that are better, but I recommend you checking that out if you haven't seen it yet. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I love this movie. Don't think I hate this, but some of the things in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the things I didn't like about it, that some of the humor was a miss. Some of it was good. I laughed my tail off with this movie. I love the interaction with the team, like Rocket, Groot, Drax, and Star-Lord. All that worked a part in this film. Everything was great about this film. I like the father and son relationship with Kurt Russell as Star-Lord's dad. Everything worked in there, but the villain part in this film was kind of weak, and I was looking for a strong villain. So that's one of the parts that bothered me. But overall, this is a fun film. I don't think it's the weakest film, maybe in the MCU, but as the overall the superhero genre, not even close. This is a fun film, so check it out if you haven't seen it yet, too. Iron Man 3. I like this film. It's not the best MCU film, but the reason why I like it is because of Shane Black. He directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Nice Guys. Those are two films. I recommend you checking those out. This film was different from the first two Iron Mans. Not to say it's better than the other one, but this one had like a little spy to it. And this is the first movie where we get to see Tony Stark without the Iron Man suit as much. In a couple of scenes, in the last act, he kind of has the Iron Man suit, and then in the middle of the film, he has it. But here, it was really investing, and I really gravitated to it. And it was a storyline that I could look at, and it's the humor hit and everything worked in it. Robert Downey Jr. just knocks out the park at Iron Man 3 in this movie, and it was just a blast from start to finish. Still has some issues with the Mandarin thing, because that was one of the characters I wanted to see if that was a real Mandarin, but it turns out to be an actor, and that was a little bit kind of disappointing, and I can see why people hated that film. And it's not one of the top MCU films, but still kind of a little underrated. It's an underrated film, and I enjoyed it. Avengers Age of Ultron. This is one of the films that was very disappointing a little bit with the villain Ultron, but I still had a little fun with it. I had fun with this film. It's a fun film, but the villain Ultron, I wish he was menacing. He was visceral, but it didn't give me the things to see why he was vicious and everything. And I didn't gravitate to this character at all. And I wish they did a better job on it. But like I said, I like the character interaction. I like this and that about Thor and Captain America and Iron Man, how they're trying to figure out how to defeat this villain. And I like the introduction of Vision and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Those were great introductions. I thought this film nailed all that in all different ways of form. AntMan and the Wasp. I know a lot of people probably be like, if you see my review, be like, when you ranked it a little higher. I love AntMan and the Wasp. I thought the humor worked. I thought the action worked. But I don't think it's quite better than the first film. And that's just me. I love the film. I love Michael Pena. I like Paul Rudd. I like Evangeline Lilly. Their chemistry was great, especially Michael Douglas. Everything about this film was good. And I like Paul Rudd and the daughter, the father and daughter thing in the movie. It was really good. But the villain was just let down too in this film. The villain had a good backstory, but by the end of the day, it wasn't like the top tier villains that we have seen in the recent Marvel films or in the past. So this is a fun film, and I enjoyed it from start to finish. I watched this film like 2 times, so this is still a good movie. Thor 2011. I think this is a very underrated Thor movie. We get to learn the character Thor, where he gets his power stripped. We see Odin send him down to Earth, said because he's not worthy. He kind of does things and becomes like little arrogant, greedy boy and stuff. But this movie really struck a chord. I really like this movie. I think this is very underrated. The storyline, some stuff can get really draggy sometimes when Thor is on Earth, but that doesn't take away from it because it has some action scenes where Thor trying to get back his hammer from the tent with that Marvel Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was trying to do. Where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was trying to do. I said the name of the show. I meant the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was studying the hammer. All that was good. I thought this movie had some good elements that makes it solid. Not to say it's the best comic film of all time, but it's a good one. And I can say that. For me, it's still a solid film. Captain America, the First Avengers. I really find this movie very underrated. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but if they remember the one that came out in 1990, they will appreciate this film. This film really focuses on Steve Rogers, him becoming a soldier and stuff, but the army would not take him because he's so skinny. And I really love that origin story where he really wants to become this best soldier because he's a good man with a good heart. And you really felt that in this movie. I thought this movie really touched on that very well. It's not too cheesy with the costume and all. And I thought it was because, Captain America has the wings on his head in the comic books. But here it does not get like that. The costume looks good. The action, the cinematography looks well done. Some of the actions are kind of like montages, and I wish they kind of made it like full-fledged action. But some of the action, like towards the third act, is really great. Hugo Weaving as Red Skull, to me, was an underrated villain. Haley Atwell was great as the love interest, Peggy Carter. Sebastian Stan is great as the sidekick friend Bucky. All these things in Captain America First Avengers were great. And I still watch this movie still this day. I still find it one of the underrated origin comic books as well as film. Doctor Strange. Excuse me if I said the name wrong, but this is one of my favorite comic book films. And I really had a blast with this one. I saw the trailers. I was like, wow. And I heard Benedict Cumberbatch going to be casted as Doctor Strange. I was really happy about that because Joaquin Phoenix was originally the casting, and I wasn't sure about that. But when Benedict got casted, I was like, yes, this movie had the best special effects, and the buildings bending and all that, and the battles of where they doing all the sorcery powers. It looks good, and everything was like well done. Tilda Swinton and Benedict Cumberbatch, they were so great. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo was great. Mads Mikkelsen was good as a villain, but kind of they didn't do him all the way like as a great villain. And I was looking for that. That was one of the step downs, and that comes from the MCU. They all have weak villains, and here Mads Mikkelsen, they could have tackled on to make him a strong villain, but they didn't. But that's one of the things that was kind of like one of the issues with Doctor Strange. But let's say this movie is good. I really like this movie. It's some of the other MCU films are better, but that really don't say nothing bad about this film, because this film is good. Number 10, Ant-Man. Wow, this one, it was like night and day when I left the movie theater. I was picking on the trailers of this movie. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be good. And now, I went into this movie theater. I was pleasantly surprised. This has a good humor. It has good casting. Paul Rudd knocks it out of the park as Ant-Man, and Scott Lang. Evangeline Lilly was great as Hope. Michael Douglas, great as Hank Pym. And Michael Pena as Louise. He was funny. He was really funny in this movie. I was pleasantly surprised. He was vastly funny. He was funny in the sequel, but here, I was like, my first introduction to this character, I was like, oh my God. T.I. and the other cast crew did very well in this film. And I think Ant-Man is worth the see, because it's a blast, and you should get popcorn and your drinks ready for that movie. SpiderMan Homecoming. Wow, since 2004, we have not had a good Spider-Man movie. Now we finally have it. This was really good. I like how this one took the approach of him in high school a little bit more, because the previous Spider-Man films didn't. And this film really touched on a lot of things from in this movie, like showing Spider-Man as a kid more, and showing how he can balance his life with school and do other things as a hero. It really shows that, and I really like this film. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man films with Spider-Man 2, but I gotta mention this. Michael Keaton as the Vulture. He does really good. He showed determination. You actually got scared of him. Michael Keaton's a great actor. He knocked out of the park as Vulture. And Peter Parker's friend Ned was great. And Tom Holland does really good as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I can't believe it, but he does really good. And I really enjoyed this film. One of my favorites of the MCU. Guardians of the Galaxy. This was a surprise for me. I saw the trailers of this during the Winter Soldier when I went to see it Winter Soldier on Friday, and I saw the trailers of this film. I'm like, I don't know, there's a tree and a raccoon. Left out the movie theater, surprise too. This one had great action, great characters, good humor. Drax, Star-Lord, Rocket, oh my goodness, they were so funny. Especially Rocket, wanting the guy's arm and legs and stuff. It was so funny. Everything worked in this film perfectly. Drax was funny. Star-Lord, some of the scenes with him where he was telling Drax something, it was really funny. Guardians of the Galaxy is like a Star Wars of the Marvel. It was a blast. Everything, this action was just mind-blowing. But one of the things, like I said, again, you probably have heard this again, villains, Ronan the Accuser. I wish he was a good villain, but it kind of, But like I said, movie's fun. Check it out. Thor Ragnarok. Taika Waititi made a good Thor movie. Not talking bad about the other ones. First one's good. Second one was okay. But this one is one of the best Thor movies out of the trilogy. The colors of the Jack Kirby It looked like it came out of the pages. It looked neat. Kate Blanchett knocks it out of the park as the villain Hela. She's one of my favorite actresses. Oh my gosh, she did really good. Chris Hemsworth knocks it out of the park as Thor. And Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. The Gladiator Hulk and Thor battling was great. Everything was so good in this movie. It felt like if you would go to Halloween, you would get all the good of the candy. It was like that. Everything was like firecracking, popping. And the music was played in the trailer, and it was in this movie. It was a blast. I had a blast with this movie. Everything was great about this movie. It's like playing an arcade game, and it was just totally great. I had a blast with Thor Ragnarok. It's one of my favorite Thor movies. I've seen it like 5-6 times. Check it out, please. I recommend you to. Number 6, Black Panther. This is the film I've been looking for. I've been looking for a Black Panther and been talking about for years, like in the early 2000s, close like 2004 or 5, when I was in elementary. Then later on in middle school, I was like, when I was seeing superhero films, I was like, when is Black Panther going to ever get made? Then I was in college, then high school, then getting to college. I heard about it, and I heard that they're going to get director Ryan Coogler, the one that did Fruitvale Station and Creed. Those are 2 films I recommend you checking out if you haven't seen it. This movie blew me away on so many levels. I couldn't believe it. I knew that they could make a good Black Panther movie, but my goodness, it's a great, great movie. Michael B. Jordan was great as Killmonger, the villain. Chadwick Boseman and me is Black Panther and T'Challa. Ron Coogler did a phenomenal job, and the acting is well done too in this film. And I think this is one of the best actings I've seen in a Marvel movie, and a different Marvel movie that sends a message that I really love. This movie hits me right here. And me, since I'm African American, this movie I love this movie. It's really struck me to the core. Snap the fingers. The Russo brothers knocked this one out of the park. Everything was so good about Avengers Infinity War. The villain, Thanos. What can I say? Josh Brolin as Thanos was great. He showed intimidation. The villain, you really felt the villain presence of Thanos. What he tried to do, destroy half the universe. You really saw that, and it was really good. The Russo brothers knocked out apart. I thought Winter Soldier and Civil War was like, oh, these are Russo brothers, like their best. But they proved it with Infinity War, and I had a blast with this. The character interaction with Iron Man and Doctor Strange was done extremely well. I thought all that was great. And Star-Lord and everybody, all the comedic timing and the humor was so great. All this was, I'm getting mixed with my words, but everything about this film was like everything I wanted, and I got it, and I had a blast with this. I've seen this movie like 3 times. One of my favorite MCU films, and it deserves to be in the top 5. Coming in at number 4 is Civil War. Woo! This is one that I think the Russo brothers, I'm utterly shocked how good the airport scene is. The airport scene, action scene alone it stands on its own. It's one of the best action pieces I've seen in an MCU film. The introduction of Black Panther, the introduction of Spider-Man, wow. They were like, boom, boom. All that was great. Then we get to see the Iron Man and Captain America battle in the finale. Oh my goodness. It was so deep. The emotion, the things that the characters that they cared for, everything that it got down. It really gets down. The Russo brothers did something well with this film. It was deep. It had some comedy there, but when it took itself serious, it went serious. And I like this movie. This movie was it's just great. That's all I'm going to leave it as. I'm just going to leave it as that. Great. Iron Man 2008. This one is the one that kicked off the MCU, one of the first films. And this one is personally one of my favorite comic films. This movie should have not should not worked. This movie shouldn't have, and it's really shocking that this one is still talked about as one of the best comic book films, and it deserves it. This movie is great. From the casting, from the action, everything was so good about it. Casting Robert Downey Jr. was like a risk. I remember everybody was like, why did they cast Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man? Nobody don't even say it. This guy owns the role as Iron Man. The storyline in this film where he's building the cave, he has to get a new heart. He's some heart or something. The cave scene alone was great. Oh my goodness, the cave scene where he builds the Iron Man suit. It was great. I repeated like 3 or 4 times, but that's how good the scene is. And Jeff Bridges as a villain, I think was very underrated. Didn't think he was a bad villain. Oh my goodness, the chemistry with Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts and Tony Stark was great. One of the best chemistries I've seen in the MCU. This film was a blast from start to finish. I like this movie. 2008, I was blown away because Iron Man is not a Batman and Superman or Spider-Man. But everybody was like, oh, I want to be Iron Man. It's not Batman. Nobody didn't say Batman and Spider-Man no more. Now people is putting Iron Man in the debate table. Great movie. This movie, I have nothing to say. This movie is perfect. This is the one that helped MCU get on the journey that it is now. Without this, I don't know where the MCU would be. If you didn't think the MCU can go that far, well, the first Captain America movie was good. This one was on a whole nother level. And I mean like a whole nother level. The Russo brothers, the Kevin Feige, when he brought the Russo brothers in, the Russo brothers was like nobodies. Coming into a film, they were like comedy directors. Coming into making a political spy espionage film, you were like, Oh, Russo who? Russo brothers, yes. The Russo brothers that we see now, that the ones that did the Avengers Infinity War, this is their first film, and they knocked this one. This one was like, whoa. They obviously can make popcorn. You could get choked off popcorn down your throat. This movie is like one of my favorite comic books. If this is like personal favorite comic film, this is top 10 material. This movie, let me mention one scene before we get started. Does anyone want to get out? That elevator scene with Captain America is one of my favorite scenes in any superhero film or comic film I've ever seen. It was crafted well. The action was crafted well. Everything about that film was like totally a blast. Him fighting the Winter Soldier with the knife and all. Oh, it gave me chills down my spine. It was perfect. This film is perfect from beginning, middle, and end. This is, if you do not have this in your top 10 favorite comic film, I don't know what comic film you're watching. You need to see this again. I've probably seen this film like 10 times. This is one of my favorite comic films. And I've said that about 2 or 3 times, but I loved it. It's just good. Let it just sit. Number 1 movie that I left out the movie theater completely happy. And let me go in order. From trailer to movie theater, trailer was a hit, the movie was a hit. You have both of those things, that's what I call a movie that just knocks out the park and does everything. The first Avengers is my number 1 MCU movie. All the other MCU movies check the boxes like Iron Man and Winter Soldier, but Avengers checks the boxes from director to writing to action to villain. Loki, good villain. The character interaction, Captain America, Black Widow, Iron Man, Thor, Hawkeye, the Hulk, worked well, but the casting, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Samuel L. Jackson, Joss Whedon that the guy that directed Serenity, everything was good about this film. This film is good. If this one is top, if this one is for anybody listening who ever have like favorite comic films, this deserves to be top 10. This is a good comic movie. I had so much of a blast with this one. I remember the movie theater, everybody was having fun, everybody clapped. It was a blast from start to finish, and I like this one. I love Avengers Infinity War, but this one, it just did not get to this. It's right there. I say Infinity War's right there, but the first Avengers is there. It's like a masterpiece. And that's how I ranked this film. And it just was one of my favorites, and I still love it. It's one of my favorite superhero team movies, along with X-Men 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy. But this one was just like perfect on the things I mentioned on checklist. It just checks the box, and you just send it off in the mail and say, that's great. Almost like a report card. Yep. Anything can beat the first Avengers as a group superhero team on any comic film. It would have to have all of those check marks. And I think this is the best MCU movie, and it's my number one MCU movie. And I think it could change. All depends, because Winter Soldier and them are like this. But right now, it's number one. Thanks, guys, for checking my video out. And like I said in the beginning of the video, please leave in the comment section down below, what is your favorite MCU film, from your worst to best, or best to worst? Please let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to know like your top 5 or your top 10 MCU films. Like I said, we all are comic book fans and the fan of the MCU. We all have our likes and dislikes about the films. And I would love to know, because I respect your opinion, whatever ones you like, and tell me the reason why you like this film a lot. Because like I said, I gave reason why I ranked this film, and that it's all for fun. And let's have fun as comic book fans and enjoy the MCU films, all the 20 films that they have made. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, click thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, click subscribe and the bell button so you can get an update on my channel. That's why I can see you next time on Slide the Movie Guy. Peace and Excelsior!